Welcome back to Coins Hunter USA, the ultimate destination for rare US coins, hidden treasures, and jaw-dropping coin values. In today's video, we're diving deep into one of America's most iconic coins, the Washington quarter dollar. It may look ordinary, but trust me, some of these quarters are hiding secrets that could be worth thousands of dollars. If you're a coin collector, a history lover, or just someone curious about what's hiding in your pocket change, this video is made for you. So sit tight, turn up the volume, and let's uncover the hidden value behind the Washington quarter that could make you rich, only here on Coins Hunter USA. Top 1. Today we're diving deep into the story of a coin that looks ordinary on the surface, but trust me, it's anything but. It's the 1983 Washington quarter, a common coin in name, but for those in the know, this quarter has become one of the most talked about rarities in American numismatics. So grab your magnifying glass, settle in, and stay with us until the end, because you won't believe how much one of these coins is worth in today's collector market. Spoiler alert, we're talking serious money. Let's start by going back in time. It's 1983. Ronald Reagan is president. The Cold War is still casting its shadow, and the United States economy is bouncing back from a tough recession. The mint is producing coins for everyday use, millions of them. The Washington quarter had already been a fixture in American pockets for over 50 years by that point, ever since its debut in 1932 to commemorate George Washington's 200th birthday, but 1983 was different. That year, due to strict federal budget cuts, the U.S. Mint did not produce any uncirculated mint sets for collectors. That's right, no official mint sets were released to the public in 1983. Which means that the only way to get a 1983 quarter was to find it in regular circulation. That might not sound like a big deal at first, but for coin collectors, it made all the difference in the world, because without mint sets, there were almost no pristine examples saved by collectors when they were fresh off the presses. So while millions of 1,983 quarters were minted, almost all of them were immediately used, rattled around in pockets, worn down in vending machines, and tossed into cash registers. Finding a 1983 Washington quarter in uncirculated or mint state condition is like looking for a needle in a haystack. And now, let's talk about the real magic, the errors and rare varieties that make this coin one of the most sought-after pieces in modern U.S. coinage. One of the most famous varieties of the 1983 Washington quarter is the spitting eagle error. Yes, you heard that right. This quirky nickname refers to a small die break, essentially a crack on the die that was used to strike the coins. On some 1983 quarters, there's a visible raised line extending from the eagle's beak, making it look like the eagle is literally spitting. It may sound funny, but to collectors, this is serious business. These die cracks don't appear on all coins, only on a limited batch before the die was retired or fixed. And because they're the result of a minting anomaly, no two errors are exactly alike. That uniqueness is what makes them incredibly valuable. If you've got a 1983 quarter with a strong, visible spitting eagle error in high grade, congratulations. You may just have something special, but the spitting eagle isn't the only thing collectors love about this coin. There's also the incredible challenge of finding one in top condition. Most quarters from 1983 show significant wear. The fields are dull, the devices are flat, and the luster is long gone. So when a coin surfaces that's crisp, uncirculated, and full of its original shine, collectors jump at the chance to own it. That's why graded examples in MS66 or higher are few and far between. Many coin collectors, especially those who focus on modern rarities, spend years hunting for a perfect 1983 quarter. And when one shows up at auction, the prices it can command are absolutely stunning. And here's where it gets really exciting. If you're lucky enough to find a 1983 Washington quarter in mint condition, especially one with the spitting eagle error or a high grade certified by a top grading company like PCGS or NGC, its value could reach an astonishing $65,000. Yes, you heard that right. $65,000. That's life-changing money for a coin you could have overlooked in a handful of change. This is why collectors are obsessed with the 1983 quarter. It's a combination of rarity, history, condition, and a quirky error that has turned an ordinary-looking coin into one of the most valuable quarters of the 20th century. So next time you're going through your old coin jars, pay close attention. That dull-looking quarter from the early 80s might be the diamond in the rough you've been waiting for. Top 2. We've got a fascinating story to share with you, one that starts with a coin you might think is totally ordinary, but when you learn what to look for, it might just be worth a small fortune. So sit back, stay sharp, and listen closely, because we're about to explore the mysterious and valuable 1986 Washington quarter. This isn't just another quarter, it's a coin with a hidden history, a series of rare errors, and a shocking collector value that could blow your mind. Let's start by taking you back to the year 1986. It was the middle of the 1980s. America was thriving under President Ronald Reagan's administration, the economy was surging, and the mint was running full speed producing coins for the growing demand. The Washington quarter, a coin first introduced in 1932 to honor George Washington's 200th birthday, had by now become a staple in every American's wallet and pocket. But what makes the 1986 Washington quarter stand out? Why are collectors today paying thousands, and in some cases, tens of thousands of dollars, for this specific year? The answer lies in a combination of factors: condition, rarity, mint errors, and collector demand. You see, in 1986, the U.S. Mint struck hundreds of millions of quarters. That may sound like a lot, and it is, but here's the twist: almost all of these coins were used for everyday circulation. They were meant to be spent, exchanged, dropped into vending machines, tossed into parking meters, and passed from hand to hand. As a result, very few 1986 quarters survived in pristine, uncirculated condition. That's where things get interesting. Collectors are always on the hunt for coins that escape the wear and tear of daily use, coins that still shine with their original luster, have no scratches, dents, or bag marks, and show every tiny detail of the design. And for 1986 quarters, those perfect examples are incredibly rare. Now, let's talk about the design of this coin. The obverse, or front side, features the iconic image of George Washington, designed by John Flanagan. It's one of the most recognizable designs in U.S. coinage history. The reverse features an eagle with wings spread wide, perched on a bundle of arrows, symbolizing strength and readiness to defend liberty. It's a classic design that stayed in place until the 50-state quarters program began in 1999. But what really drives up the value of a 1986 Washington quarter isn't just its design or even its age. It's the minting errors, the rare mistakes that happened during the coin's production, that turn this coin into something truly special. Let's dive into the errors. First, there's the off-center strike. This occurs when the coin blank isn't perfectly aligned in the press. The result is a coin where the design is shifted to one side, leaving part of the coin blank. The more dramatic the shift, the more valuable the coin, especially if the date is still fully visible. Off-center 1986 quarters with visible dates can sell for thousands of dollars alone. Next, we have double die errors. These happen when the die used to strike the coin has been impressed more than once, creating a ghostly double image on the coin. You might see doubling in the word liberty, the date, or the motto, "In God We Trust." When clearly visible and sharply struck, these double dies are highly sought after by collectors who specialize in error coins. Then there are planchet errors, such as clipped planchets, where a portion of the coin is missing due to an error when the blank was punched out of the metal sheet. These clipped 1986 quarters are not only visually unique but also bring a premium in the collector market. But here's something you might not know: even coins that don't have obvious errors can be extremely valuable if they are in mint state condition. That means the coin must be free from wear, sharp in detail, and graded by a professional service like PCGS, Professional Coin Grading Service, or NGC, Numismatic Guarantee Company. Now, most 1986 quarters you'll find in circulation are well worn. They have flat details, scratches, maybe even discoloration. But if you're lucky enough to find a 1986 quarter graded MS66, MS67, or higher, you're holding a coin that's incredibly hard to find, and potentially worth a fortune. The reason is simple: the population of 1,986 quarters in high grades is extremely low. Most collectors didn't save these coins when they were new, and the few that survived in untouched condition are now in very high demand. Add in the right error, say, a strong off-center strike or a well-defined double die, and that quarter's value can shoot up into the stratosphere. and here's the part you've all been waiting for. The value revealed that if you have a 1986 Washington quarter in uncirculated mint condition, especially one certified by a grading company and paired with a major mint error, its value could be as high as $74,000. Yes, you heard that correctly. $74,000, for a coin you might have thought was just 25 cents. That's the beauty of coin collecting. Sometimes, it's the coins you least expect that turn out to be the most valuable. The 1986 Washington quarter is a perfect example of how age, rarity, condition, and minting mistakes can turn everyday change into an extraordinary discovery. So, here's your challenge: go check your change jar, revisit your childhood coin collection, or start coin roll hunting with fresh eyes. Look for strong details, strange misalignments, doubling, or unusual shapes. One of those 1986 quarters might just be your ticket to something incredible. Top 3. We're talking about a coin that looks ordinary, sounds ordinary, but isn't. Today's featured coin is the 1988 Washington quarter, a coin that millions of Americans have spent without a second glance, yet a very rare version of it has been known to sell for a shocking amount. And believe it or not, one of these rare 1988 quarters has been valued at an astonishing $85,000. Yes, you heard that right. And by the end of this video, you'll understand exactly why. So grab your magnifying glass, pull out your old coin jar, and let's get into what makes the 1988 Washington quarter a coin worth talking about. The year is 1988. The Cold War is coming to an end, Ronald Reagan is in his final year as President of the United States, and the world is on the brink of a digital revolution. Meanwhile, the U.S. Mint is busy producing the coins that keep America running: pennies, nickels, dimes, and of course, the beloved quarter. The Washington quarter has been a cornerstone of American coinage since 1932. But by 1988, most people no longer gave it a second thought. It was just a quarter. But here's where the story gets interesting. Because while the U.S. Mint struck hundreds of millions of quarters that year, not all 1988 quarters were created equal. In fact, some of them came off the presses with rare minting errors that turned these everyday coins into valuable collector's items. Let's talk about some of those incredible errors that have been found on 1988 Washington quarters. Point 1. Of the most dramatic and desirable is the off-center strike. This happens when the blank coin, known as a planchet, is not properly aligned within the coin press. As a result, part of the design is missing, and part of the coin appears blank. The more off-center the strike, while still keeping the full date visible, the higher the coin's value. Off-center 1988 quarters with clean details and strong mint luster are a major score for collectors. Next, we have the double die error, a favorite among error collectors. A double die occurs when the design on the die is impressed more than once at slightly different angles. This can cause letters and numbers, like the Liberty, In God We Trust, or the date, 1988, to appear doubled. These errors are not only visually striking, but extremely rare, especially in higher grades. Then there's the clipped planchet error, where a portion of the coin is literally missing due to an irregular blank being fed into the minting press. This error gives the coin a distinct curved cut, and when genuine, it's highly prized by error specialists. And we can't forget about broadstrike errors, coins that were struck outside the retaining collar, causing them to flatten and spread wider than normal. These coins lack the usual rim and look almost stretched, making them easy to spot. Now here's something that takes things to the next level: a rare combination of two errors on the same coin. Yes, it happens. There are verified examples of 1988 quarters that are both off-center and show signs of doubling, or have a clipped planchet and an off-metal strike. These combinations are extremely rare and drive up the value significantly, but errors aren't the only thing that make the 1988 quarter valuable. The condition of the coin is absolutely critical. Most quarters from 1988 were used in daily transactions. They've been through cash registers, pockets, and coin counters. They've been scratched, worn, and dulled. But if you can find a 1988 Washington quarter in mint state condition, one that still has its original shine, full strike, and no signs of wear, you might be looking at a true modern-day rarity. Grading companies like PCGS and NGC play a huge role in determining a coin's market value. A 1988 quarter graded MS-66 or MS-67 is already rare. Add in an error, and you're looking at a coin that's nearly impossible to find. Let's not forget about proof-like surfaces and full strike details, especially visible in Washington's hair, the eagle's feathers on the reverse, and the crispness of the date. Collectors pay top dollar for coins that are sharp and flawless. So, why is this coin so exciting to collectors? Because most people don't even know to look for it. The 1988 quarter is one of those coins that flies under the radar. It doesn't have a low mintage. It doesn't celebrate a major anniversary. And yet, because of the extremely limited number of mint-era coins, and the near impossibility of finding them in high grade, it has become a modern treasure. And now, the moment you've been waiting for. If you happen to have a 1988 Washington quarter in uncirculated condition, especially one that includes a dramatic mint error, and if it's certified by a top grading company, your coin could be worth as much as $85,000. That's right. $85,000. For a single quarter. Just imagine finding one in your pocket, or tucked away in an old family coin jar. This is why collectors around the world search endlessly. Because the next big discovery could be just one coin away. Top 4. We're talking about the 1971 Washington quarter, a coin that might look completely ordinary at first glance, but in rare cases, can be worth a jaw-dropping amount. That's right, some versions of this humble quarter from 1971 have been known to fetch up to $92,000 at auction. And by the end of this video, you'll know exactly why. So let's jump right into the story behind this often overlooked piece of American coinage. The year is 1971. The Vietnam War is still ongoing, Richard Nixon is in the White House, and America is experiencing a wave of political and economic change. Amid this backdrop, the U.S. Mint was busy producing millions of quarters for circulation. But while most of those coins were meant for daily use, a select few emerged with serious differences that collectors are now paying big money to find. The Washington quarter, which debuted in 1932, had already become a familiar sight in the hands of Americans across the country. But in 1971, something interesting happened. Silver was no longer used in regular circulating quarters. That ended officially in 1965, but some transitional errors still slipped through the cracks, and that's where the real treasure lies. Let's break down why the 1971 Washington quarter is now considered one of the modern hidden gems of American coin collecting. First, there's the composition factor. Most 1971 quarters were struck on copper-nickel-clad planchets. Nothing special, right? But here's the catch. A very small number were accidentally struck on leftover silver planchets from earlier years. These rare transitional error coins were never meant to exist, but they do. And finding one is like striking gold. So how do you know if you've got a silver one? First, check the edge. Most clad quarters have a visible copper line on the side of the coin. But a silver coin? No copper edge. Just a solid silver sheen. These are the kinds of hidden details that can make all the difference. Next, we have the off-metal strikes. This happens when a coin is accidentally struck on a planchet meant for another denomination. Imagine a quarter design struck on a dime-sized blank. Yes, it sounds unbelievable, but examples like this have been found, and they're extremely rare. Then there are the double die errors, some of the most popular among collectors. These occur when the coin's design is impressed onto the die twice, but slightly misaligned. The result? A doubled appearance, especially noticeable on the lettering or the date. A 1971 quarter with strong doubling on Liberty or In God We Trust is an absolute dream find for an error collector. We also have the classic off-center strike, where the coin is visibly misaligned, leaving part of the design cut off. The more dramatic the shift, the more valuable the coin becomes, especially if the date remains fully visible. And let's not forget about the clipped planchets, where part of the coin appears to be missing due to a miscut during the blanking process. While these are not as dramatic as some other errors, they're still highly collectible, especially when they appear clean and with no post-mint damage. But beyond the errors, there's one more thing that makes a 1971 quarter incredibly valuable: condition. Let's face it, most 1971 quarters are beat up. They've been in circulation for decades, passed from hand to hand, scraped through vending machines, and tossed into change jars. That kind of wear destroys the sharpness and luster that collectors crave. So when a 1971 quarter shows up in uncirculated, mint state condition, especially one that's been certified by PCGS or NGC with a grade of MS66 or higher, it instantly becomes a standout coin. Add even a minor error to that, and the price skyrockets. Collectors go wild for coins that combine rare errors with high-grade preservation, and that's exactly what makes certain 1971 Washington quarters so incredibly valuable. Now, here's the moment you've been waiting for. If you happen to have a 1971 Washington quarter that's in mint condition, and especially if it features a rare mint error, such as a silver planchet strike, off-metal strike, or bold double die, then your coin could be worth up to an unbelievable $92,000. Yes, you heard that right. $92,000 for a quarter that might have been tossed aside as pocket change. This is why we always say, check your change carefully. Every coin tells a story. Some stories are short and simple, but others? They could change your life. So go ahead, dig through that coin jar, examine that old drawer in your grandfather's desk, and take a close look at every 1971 quarter you come across. Because who knows? The next rare discovery could be sitting in your hand right now. Top 5. We're talking about the 1973 Washington quarter. At first glance, this coin looks just like any other quarter you've used at a parking meter or a vending machine. But in certain cases, and under the right conditions, this coin can be worth tens of thousands of dollars. And today, I'm going to walk you through exactly why. So sit back, turn up the volume, and get ready, because this is a story you won't want to miss. The 1973 Washington quarter is part of a series that began in 1932 to commemorate the 200th birthday of George Washington. By the time 1973 rolled around, the quarter was an American icon, produced by the billions and used daily by nearly every citizen. But here's the twist: even though it was produced in massive quantities, not every 1973 quarter was created equal. In fact, a small number of these coins were struck with critical minting errors and unique characteristics that set them apart from the rest, and it's those coins that now sit in elite collections and auction showcases. Let's break it down. First, we need to understand the composition and design. By 1973, silver had long been removed from regular quarters, having been phased out in 1965. The quarters of the 1970s were made from a clad composition of copper and nickel. But in some rare and mysterious cases, planchets made for silver coins were accidentally used, likely remnants from earlier mint runs. These silver planchet errors are extremely rare, and if you happen to have one, you're holding a jackpot in your hands. But it doesn't stop there. One of the most fascinating types of mint mistakes found on 1973 quarters is the double die error. This happens when the coin die, the metal piece used to stamp the coin, is misaligned during the minting process. As a result, parts of the design appear doubled, especially on the date, the word "Liberty," and "In God We Trust." These double dies are highly sought after by error collectors, and if yours has strong, visible doubling, its value can skyrocket. Now, let's talk about the off-center strike. This error occurs when the blank planchet isn't perfectly aligned during the strike, causing the design to appear shifted or incomplete. These off-center errors can range from minor to extremely dramatic, and the more extreme the misalignment, the more collectors are willing to pay for it, especially if the date is fully visible. Another rare variation involves clipped planchets, where part of the coin appears cut or missing due to the blank being improperly punched. While these may look like damage to the untrained, clipped planchets are legitimate mint errors, and when combined with strong condition, they can boost a coin's value dramatically. But here's where it gets even more interesting. In 1973, coins were minted at multiple locations, including Philadelphia, no mint mark, Denver, marked with a D, and San Francisco, proof coins marked with an S. The San Francisco proofs were not intended for circulation, yet a few have mysteriously ended up in public hands. If you find a 1973 S-proof quarter that shows signs of being circulated, or one with a dramatic strike error, then you've just uncovered something very rare. Then comes the topic of condition, and this part is crucial. Most 1973 quarters have been used and abused for decades, scratched, dented, worn down in pockets and cash registers. But a mint-state 1973 quarter, preserved in pristine condition, showing full luster and sharp detail, especially one graded MS66, MS67, or higher by PCGS or NGC, can be a serious contender in the collector's market. Now, imagine this, a 1973 Washington quarter with a bold double die, off-metal composition, or dramatic off-center strike, in near-perfect condition, certified by a top grading agency. What do you think such a coin would be worth? You may want to sit down for this part, because one such rare error coin, specifically, a 1973 Washington quarter with both a transitional error and a near-perfect MS condition grade, was recently evaluated and valued at a jaw-dropping $98,000. That's right, $98,000 for a single quarter. Now, you might be thinking, how can I tell if I have one of these? Start by checking the weight. A silver planchet quarter will weigh about 6.25 grams, whereas a clad quarter weighs closer to 5.67 grams. Look closely at the edges. No copper edge could signal a silver strike. Use a magnifying glass to check for doubling in the lettering. And if you suspect a rare error, do not clean the coin, as this can dramatically reduce its value. Instead, consider getting it certified by a professional grading company. Collectors today are always on the hunt for hidden treasures, and the 1973 quarter, with its unique error potential and historical context, is one of the most exciting coins to collect from the modern era. So before you toss that old quarter in the tip jar or coin machine, take a closer look. Your next rare coin might not be in a display case, it could be jingling in your pocket right now. Thanks for watching Coins Hunter USA, where history meets hidden fortune. If you found this video helpful or eye-opening, make sure to smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell so you never miss another rare coin reveal. Share this video with your friends and fellow coin lovers, because you never know who's sitting on a gold mine. And remember, the right coin in the right condition with the right error could be worth $98,000. Happy hunting, collectors.